The marble halls of the highest court in America had never witnessed anything like this. Justice Stephen Breyer, the 85-year-old legal giant with 5 decades of experience, sat across from Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett in what was supposed to be a routine legal symposium. But what happened next shattered every expectation in the room. When Breyer leaned forward and uttered 7 words that would change everything. "Congresswoman, you are absolutely brilliant." The entire courtroom fell into stunned silence. Legal. Scholars froze. Court reporters stopped typing. Even the security guards turned their heads in disbelief. But it wasn't just the compliment that left everyone speechless. It was what Jasmine Crockett did next that would send shockwaves through the legal establishment and create a viral moment that the political world is still talking about. Before we dive into this incredible story, let me know in the comments where you're watching from, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss moments like these that are reshaping American politics. To understand why this moment was so explosive, you need to know who these 2 people are and why their meeting was so significant. Justice Stephen Breyer had spent his entire career as the ultimate Washington insider. Appointed to the nation's highest court in 1994, he'd written landmark decisions that shaped American law for decades. At 85, he was considered one of the most respected legal minds in the country, a man who'd seen presidents come and go, who'd debated constitutional law with the brightest minds of his generation. But Breyer had also become something else in recent years. A symbol of the old guard. Critics whispered he was out of touch with modern America, too comfortable with the status quo, too removed from the real struggles of everyday people. On the other side of the room sat Jasmine Crockett, the 43-year-old freshman congresswoman from Texas who'd been turning heads since day one. A former civil rights attorney with degrees from 2 prestigious universities, Crockett had quickly earned a reputation as one of the sharpest legal minds in Congress. But she was also something that made the establishment nervous, unafraid to call out hypocrisy, unafraid to challenge authority, unafraid to speak truth to power in ways that made career politicians uncomfortable. The legal symposium was supposed to be a routine event, distinguished speakers discussing constitutional law with law students and young attorneys. But when the organizers decided to pair Breyer with Crockett for a panel on modern challenges to constitutional interpretation, they had no idea they were creating a powder keg. The stakes couldn't have been higher. In an America divided along every possible line, here were 2 brilliant legal minds from different generations, different backgrounds, different worldviews, about to go head-to-head on the most fundamental questions facing our democracy. The audience of law students, professors, and legal practitioners had come expecting a scholarly discussion. What they were about to witness was something far more dramatic, a master class in legal brilliance that would expose just how much the legal establishment had underestimated one young congresswoman. The tension began building from the moment they took the stage. Justice Breyer, in his trademark navy suit, carried himself with the quiet confidence of a man who'd spent 30 years on the nation's highest bench. He nodded politely to Crockett as they settled into their chairs. But there was something in his demeanor that suggested he viewed this as a routine appearance, a chance to share his wisdom with a younger colleague. Jasmine Crockett, dressed in a sharp burgundy blazer that commanded attention, surveyed the room with the keen eyes of someone who'd spent years in courtrooms where every word mattered. She'd prepared for this moment far more thoroughly than anyone realized. The moderator started with softball questions about constitutional interpretation, and initially, everything proceeded as expected. Breyer spoke in measured tones about judicial philosophy, citing cases from memory with the ease of someone who'd helped decide them. The audience nodded respectfully, taking notes on every word from the distinguished justice. For nearly 20 minutes, the discussion followed the predictable pattern of such events. Law students asked deferential questions about landmark cases. Professors posed theoretical inquiries about judicial methodology. Breyer responded with the practiced eloquence of someone who had given thousands of similar presentations over his decades-long career. But Crockett remained notably quiet during this opening phase, occasionally jotting notes but mostly observing. Those who knew her legal background recognized this behavior. She was studying her opponent, waiting for the right moment to engage. As a former trial attorney, she understood the value of letting others establish their positions before revealing her own strategy. The turning point came when a third-year law student asked about the balance between judicial restraint and protecting individual rights. Breyer launched into his familiar response about the challenges of constitutional interpretation in a democracy, emphasizing the importance of deferring to elected officials while protecting fundamental rights. It was during this response that something shifted. The moderator, perhaps sensing the need to inject more energy into what had become a fairly standard academic discussion, decided to ask about voting rights, a topic that had become increasingly contentious in recent years. Breyer gave his standard response about the need for careful constitutional analysis and the complexity of balancing federal and state authority.